Hello, Seekers, and welcome to the Strange Medicine of Alice Strange podcast. I'm aliceestreastrange, and on this podcast, we explore where the esoteric meets with the scientific. Today, we're talking about tips for beginner witches. There are mistakes that a lot of witches make in the beginning that are very easy to avoid. So we'll cover 8 important tips to help you avoid mistakes in the beginning of your practice. But first, if you don't know me, hi, I'm Alice. I assist people in connecting to their spirit team, natural wisdom, and mastering their witchcraft practice through empowered witchcraft mentorship and shadow healing. My Modern Mystic Academy will be launching in January, and there you can learn all of the essential basics of witchcraft as well as deep dive into a topic over the course of a month. The first month will be all about crafting sacred smoke blends, and you'll learn everything you need to know in a community of other witches. Plus, you'll get a box full of herbs and supplies to make your own smoke bundles put together by myself, and you'll get some exclusive products like my Banishing and Positivity smoke bundles. You'll be able to join my academy starting in December, but if you'd like to join the waitlist now, you can find that link below. You can also find the links to join my free community, my psychic expansion group coaching, or schedule a session with me there too. Now, let's jump into the 8 important tips for beginner witches. Welcome, Seekers, to the Strange Medicine of Alice Strange, the podcast where modern science meets with what lies beyond what we can see. Here, we delve into psychology, spirituality, science, and the occult. Each episode will explore the bigger questions of existence, the nature of the soul, our internal world, and how we can understand them through spirituality and magic. This podcast is a sanctuary for the soul. Alongside science and spirituality, we also learn the power of compassion and the magic of extending kindness to others. For in the act of giving, we receive. In the act of teaching, we learn. This is a journey into the depths of the mind as well as the heart, where every lesson is a step toward oneness, every insight a bridge to understanding, and every act of kindness a spell that transforms the world. So join me, aliceestreastrange, on this journey of self-discovery, scientific wonders, ancient knowledge, and finding the strange medicine within yourself. Tip number 1 for beginner witches is to take what resonates and leave the rest. Your practice is yours alone. You don't have to do what anyone tells you to do. It's great to learn and listen to other perspectives, but if you read or hear something that just feels off, it just doesn't feel right, go with that feeling. A good example of this is casting circles. Some witches are adamant that casting circles are a must, and some don't ever cast a circle. You have to just feel things out with your own intuition and trust that you know what's right for you. It's also a good idea, if you're just not sure, to just try a practice out. And if you don't like it or it doesn't resonate, you don't have to do it. And keep that in mind for the rest of the tips. Take what resonates and leave the rest. The second tip for beginner witches is to read. Read everything you can, as much as possible, especially books. But again, with that first tip, a lot of what you'll read is what's called UPG, or unverified personal gnosis, which means that it's someone else's experience, but it isn't a hard and fast rule. UPG is a great way to open your mind to new possibilities through unique perspectives and experiences, but it should be taken as suggestions or possibilities, not rules. You can often find witchcraft books in local libraries. Even here, in the middle of the Midwest Bible Belt, there are books about witchcraft at the library down the street. There's also books about witchcraft that you can download on websites like Scribd and other places. And I have a free PDF download about energetic shielding and protecting your energy that also includes everything you need to know about charging, cleansing, and putting intention into crystals. A book is what opened me up to witchcraft. That book is called Paganism: An Introduction to Earth-Centered Religions by Joyce and River Higginbotham. Another pivotal book in my practice was The Book of Hedge Druidry by Joanna Vanderhoven. I cannot recommend reading enough. It's always a good idea. Now, our third beginner witchcraft tip is do not get overwhelmed. I know the beginning of your journey is overwhelming already, and there's so many exciting things to dive into and to try, and it's great to try new things and follow what excites you. But try not to dive into a million different practices at once. This makes it even more overwhelming. Working on one practice at a time allows you to master it, and you have the rest of your life to keep learning and practicing. It takes a long time to master your practice. I was like 8 years into my practice before I had mastered a single spell to the point of perfection, and it took even longer than that to figure out how to make almost all of my spells effective. So just allow yourself to go slow and make mistakes. Enjoy the journey because the goal isn't to become a master witch. It's to have a beautiful and enriching journey through magic. And every skill you learn will build toward the next skill. You're not wasting time practicing meditation or protection spells or connecting to nature. You're building toward spirit work, banishings, and natural spirit allies. And tip number 4 is to record everything. Every time you see something, every time you feel a vibe, you get an intuitive nudge, a download, a realization, write it down. So often we get nudges and feelings and we don't understand them, so we forget them. But when you write down your meditation experiences, your dreams, or just little knowings that you get throughout the day, you'll often go back and realize that it meant something. Especially when you're doing spells, I encourage you to write down exactly what you did, how the spell casting process went, and how it turned out after some time passes. There's nothing more frustrating than doing a spell that works out perfectly, but you didn't write it down and you can't remember what you did. When you write down your spells, you can do them again or make them better. It really helps you to know what works for you and what doesn't. A simple journal or notebook can work just fine. For my Book of Shadows, I like to use a plain composition notebook with this really cool notebook cover. It's gorgeous. And being the Virgo I am, I number each page and then add an index in the back to make it easier to find things. And I let this be a little messy and a little all over the place. And then when I want to take something out that really worked well or meant a lot to me, I add it to a bigger and more official grimoire. And binders are a great option for recording spells and things like that because they're very easy to organize. And I also highly recommend a digital grimoire or Book of Shadows. These are super useful for having access to your records on the go. And then when you have a cool meditation experience in the park, you can put it there immediately. And if you don't want to do a digital Book of Shadows or grimoire, I still recommend at least taking notes in your phone when you have even just a weird little thing happen when you're going about your day away from home. Even the smallest vibe can lead to a lot of realizations, and you won't forget any of the details by the time you get home. And the 5th beginner tip for witches is don't be afraid. There's a lot of fear mongering toward anything that's against societal norms, and just don't let all the scary rumors get to you. Most of the time, you're going to be fine, especially if you know how to protect yourself, even if that's as simple as carrying a charged crystal or doing a bubble shield visualization. Give yourself the tools and resources you need to feel safe. Giving yourself the tools and resources to feel safe is the number one thing that will protect you. If you're going into a practice terrified of what will happen, you're more likely to have a bad experience. And I'm not saying just don't be afraid because I know it's not that simple, but give yourself what you need to feel safe. Confidence will keep away a lot of negativity. Another thing I want to say is it's incredibly common to feel like you're kind of losing it when you start having spiritual experiences, wild meditations, or talking with spirits. To experience things that no one else does can really shake you. And you're not crazy. It's normal to feel that way, so don't be scared. And this is a big reason that I think community is so important. If you're ever in that am I crazy space, it helps to have people who also work with magic that can reassure you you are okay, or simply give you the security of knowing you're not alone in this. And in the off chance that anything ever did go wrong, you have someone who can help you. That's the reason I started the Modern Mystic Academy, so you can learn witchcraft basics and deep dive into different practices with the guidance of someone experienced and other people in a supportive community to know you're not alone or crazy. And now tip number 6, your practice does not have to be pretty. Everyone's practice is different, and they all look very different. Pretty is nice, and it does hold power, but don't try to make it pretty just for a good photo. If you're going to make your spells very pretty, do it to call in an energy. A practice can look like this, or it can look like this. And both are equally powerful. A spell can be a simple white candle with a sigil carved into it. What matters is that it works, not how it looks. And the 7th tip for beginner witches is to be mindful of labels. It's great to have a title that represents what a practitioner does. Telling you I'm an eclectic liminal witch gives you an idea that I work with spirits and astral travel and things like that. And it's easier than saying I work with ancestors and the fair folk and plant spirits and the dead and travel to and work in the middle world and lower world and work with liminal deities. So, labels are good for a quick understanding of what a person practices, so you can find people that you can relate to. But you don't need a label. And in the beginning, we're trying all sorts of things, and we may not know what we want to focus on. And even if we do, that will probably change. I used to call myself a green witch and then a hedge druid, but my practice has changed so much. So, if you find a label that works for you, go ahead and use it, but don't get so attached to it that you aren't open to growing and trying new things. You can be a kitchen witch that loves astrology, or a green witch that dabbles in spirit work, or you can just be a witch. Do whatever you want and don't worry about labeling it. The right label will come to you naturally without trying to figure it out. And our eighth and final tip is you don't have to break the bank on fancy tools to be a witch. So many tools for witchcraft can be made out of what you already have. Wands can be a stick you found in the woods. Crystals can be found at your local river, and any kind of rock can be used in witchcraft. And making your own tools is so rewarding. You can even thrift a lot of things for witchcraft, like jars and cool bottles, mirrors, trays, and dishes for a fireproof spell surface. Give it a quick cleanse and you're good to go. I have a whole series on my channel about witchcraft on a budget, and you can check that out for more ways to practice witchcraft without breaking the bank. Of course, books and classes are different. These are usually a really good investment because you can use that information forever, no matter what your practice looks like. And it's building skills that will help you with other skills in the future. Just be sure that it's something that aligns with you. Resist the urge to impulse spend. And those are my 8 tips for beginner witches. I will be putting a video out on my channel very soon about easy but powerful practices you can do as a beginner witch. So definitely subscribe to the channel so you can catch that video and deepen your magical practice. If you found any of these tips useful, go ahead and hit the like button so I can know to make more videos like this. Remember that you can find the links to join my Modern Mystic Academy down in the description, as well as join my free community and lots of other things. I'd love to get to know you in our Discord or Patreon communities, and definitely leave any questions you have in the comments. It's always so fun to get to chat with you all in here. Thank you for stopping by my channel. I'll see you next time, and until then, remember, be well, be kind, and may your curiosity for this world and the next never fade.